is the first new city made in America in, I think, quite a few decades. At least that's what I'm told. And very cool name. And it's named that because it is where we're going to develop the technology necessary to take humanity and civilization and life as we know it to another planet for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth. So I got this little video here. This is how it started off, with basically nothing. So it started off as basically a sandbar with nothing. Even those little things we built, obviously. That's the original sort of Mad Max rocket. Where you discover lighting is very important for that Mad Max rocket. So yeah, not that long ago, there was basically nothing here. And in the space of about 5 or 6 years, thanks to the incredible work of the SpaceX team, we've built a small city. And we've built 2 gigantic launch pads and a gigantic rocket factory for a gigantic rocket. And the cool thing is, for anyone out there who's watching this, you can actually come and visit because our entire production facility and launch site are on a public highway. So anyone who comes to South Texas can come and see the rocket pretty close up and see the factory. And so anyone who's interested in seeing the largest flying object on Earth can come here anytime they want and just drive down the public highway and see it, which is pretty cool. So then we progress to where we are now, Starbase 2025. So we're now at the point where we can produce a ship roughly every 2 or 3 weeks. Now, we don't always produce a ship every 2 or 3 weeks because we are making design upgrades. But ultimately, we're aiming for the ability to produce 1,000 ships a year, so 3 ships a day. So that's where things are now. I'm standing in that building. That's our hovercraft. We're driving a booster down the road to the launch site. You can see the mega bays. And as I said, what's cool, the cool thing for those out there watching this video is that you can actually just literally come here, drive down the road and see it. Which is the first time in history that that's been possible. So, all this cool stuff, that road on the left there, that highway is public, and you can just come here and see it. Which I recommend doing. I think it's very inspiring to see. So, that's our Gigabay. So we're expanding integration to produce 1,000 starships per year. Well, yeah, that hasn't been built yet, but we're building it. That is a truly enormous structure. So this will be that'll be one of the biggest structures. I think by some measures, the biggest structure in the world. And it's designed for 1,000 starships a year. also building, as you can in Florida, so we'll have 2 facilities, one in Texas and one in Florida. It's actually difficult to gauge the size of these buildings because you need to kind of heave them for scale. When you see how tiny a human is next to that building, you realize just how enormous it is. So when we look at our boat comparison vehicles per year, so we look at Boeing, Airbus making airplanes, Starship will be making at some point probably as many Starships for Mars as Boeing and Airbus make commercial airplanes. So this is really a scale, an enormous scale. And each Starship will have a capability. Each Starship is bigger than a 747 or an A380. Like, it's truly enormous. And then in terms of Starship, Starlink satellites, the version 3 satellites, making an order of 5,000 a year, maybe at some point closer to 10,000 a year. And those Starlink V3 satellites are each the size of roughly a 737. So pretty big. That compares to the B-24 bomber in World War II. Now, it's still small compared to Tesla. And Tesla will probably bring, double or triple that volume in the future. So it just puts things into perspective that it is actually possible to build a vast number of interplanetary starships. And even when you can compare things on the tonnage standpoint, Tesla is still, and other car companies are still building far more complex manufactured tonnage than SpaceX, which just really is a way of saying that it's very achievable. Like, these numbers, while they are insanely high by traditional space standards, are achievable by humans because they have been achieved in other industries. Progress is measured by the timeline to establishing a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. That's how we're gauging our progress here at Starbase. So each launch, especially in the early days of Starship, each launch is about learning more and more about what's needed to make life more planetary and to improve Starship to the point where it can be taken ultimately hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to Mars. Ideally, we can take anyone who wants to go to Mars, we can take to Mars. And bring all of the equipment necessary to make Mars self-sustaining, so Mars can grow by itself in a worst-case scenario, getting to the point where